Now, as everybody on the planet knows, you were the lead singer for Great Big Sea.
Yes.
Now you're going a solo career. So was it a difficult transition from one to the other?
Musically, it was challenging but fun.
Yeah.
All the rest of it was the terrifying part,
Yeah.
right? Because, you know, you're in this mothership that's almost bulletproof over 20 years, you know. Then all of a sudden you're out kind of making all these decisions on your own that you used to make with 3 or 4 people. And all that stuff was the hard part, the terrifying part of like taking on a whole cycle of touring on my own as opposed to with the team and all that stuff. I found that more daunting than the musical part. But yeah, it was all challenging, but fun in the fun kind of way. And I was eager to do something different, and so it was great fun. Yeah.
So how would you characterize the difference in your music as a solo career, and with the band?
It's a bit more varied.
Yeah.
Is really the simplest way to say it, because of course we still do a bunch of the Great Big Sea songs, and much of my original music is still, you know, based hard and firm in Newfoundland traditional folk music. That's all I know how to do, really. But you know, also, I mean, I grew up in you know, as a teenager in the '80s, where I fell in love with singer-songwriter guys like John Cougar and Bruce Springsteen and Billy Joel and Pat Benatar and those type of people who were like, I was characterized as like songwriter people who had gun bands with them all the time.
Yeah.
I always loved that notion of like a guy who writes and sings songs, but then has this team of like amazing players that comes with them all the time. And like, I think if there's one big difference, it's that this band is a bit more varied of a musical band. Like, so we play some rock and roll, and we play some country music, and we play some, you know, odd stuff compared. And whereas Great Big Sea was primarily a traditional band, yeah. And we still do lots of that stuff, but there's just a few extra bits on this one.
So how did you get into all this in the first place?
Oh, the worst kind of way. My mother and father were musicians, and all my uncles and all that. You know what I say? I always say, like, you know how people always say they learned their lessons the hard way.
Yeah.
I would say I learned mine the easy way, right? And like, so I learned them. I didn't even know I was learning them. You know, like, because I was a kid in a little fishing town on the southern shore of the Avalon Peninsula, Newfoundland, in a musical family. So, you know, I was in concerts before I went to concerts.
Right.
You know, it just came naturally, and it was just, I was lucky. It was around, and you know, we had an accordion, a guitar, and a piano before we had a car. That's true.
Okay, you've been named a member of the Order of Canada for contributions to the music traditions of your home province, and your commitment to numerous local charities. Could you tell us a bit more about that side of you?
Oh, I always felt kind of, well, growing up in Petty Harbour, like in small Newfoundland towns, they're all very charitable. It's very community-minded places, you know, and no matter what, there's always somebody with a boiler of soup on for someone's wake or something. I just became aware of, I suppose, again, the easy way, the responsibility we all have to give back whenever you give it a chance to. And I think that's very inbred in Newfoundlanders, and I think that's very common thing home, and I don't think I'm much different than anybody else in that regard. It's just that, you know, I've been lucky enough to have a big platform and a big loud microphone to talk into, so when I do, I tend to try to do some good with it. That's all.
So as well as music, you've also had an acting career too.
Every now and again, it's no one is as surprised as me, trust me.
Okay, so what are some of the roles you've been?
Well, the first time I ever acted in a movie was with Russell Crowe and Ridley Scott and Kate Blanchett and other lightweights, that. And,
Now, I never heard of those guys. Who are they? Are they in the movie business?
are you a Sydney fellow? Where are you from? Are you Brit?
London, England.
London, yeah. Well, we shot most of it in Surrey, just south of London, yeah. And I lived in Richmond.
Oh, Richmond, yeah.
It was so posh, it was fantastic.
Very.
It was great. So I've known Russell for about almost a decade when they called me up and asked me if I could play the lute.
The lute?
Yeah, the medieval lute. And I said, yeah, I can play the lute, you know. And everybody said, well, we need an Irishy sounding fellow who can play the lute for a role in a movie. So I went to LA and read for this part. We play Alan and Dale in the Robin Hood movie, and I did that, and then totally by luck, friends of mine back in Newfoundland were starting a TV series called Republic of Doyle, and just when Robin Hood was over, they were starting that, so they wrote a part for a recurring role for me to play. And it's really come to me more than I've gone to it, and it's super fun.
Yeah.
You know, and I've acted in enough stuff now just to know how long it would take to get actually good at it.
Mm-hmm. And how long is that?
A lifetime, and a hell of a lot longer than I've been at it. It's like, man, you were so good in that movie. No, I stood next to some really good people in that movie. If you look over their shoulders, I'm in that movie.
Well, you played with Russell Crowe in a couple of bands. You performed with him on stage, and you co-wrote songs with him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's obviously an amazing actor.
Yeah.
How good a musician is he?
Lyrics is his big strong suit as a musician. I don't know if it's because he's been like speaking and writing the greatest prose or something for 30 odd years.
Yeah.
But I think it's partly too because he comes from a different part of the world than I do. That the turn of phrase that he's capable of is quite wonderful, and that's the big appealing thing to me as a co-writer.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I'm not totally sure why, other than that I know he's passionate about it and is a student of the written word almost as as much as he is, I think, of being an actor. But it's been great fun, and the other thing about writing with a guy like Russell all the time is that he always got some interesting project that needs a song in it.
Oh, okay.
Where it's a song for a record, like we wrote a few songs for Great Big Sea, and then for my own stuff, and then for his records and for his band. But then of course there's a movie that needs a song, about a bunch of sailors that are leaving England or leaving France, coming back to England. So off you go, and your next thing, so. Yeah, that's been quite rewarding, and I feel really lucky to have gotten in that camp, to be honest. Yeah.
You have said, I always want people to have the greatest night of their life when the house lights go down.
Yeah.
How do you make that happen?
What else is there?
Yeah.
Honestly, what else is there? Like, why else would you go?
I'm with you.
With all the choices that people have for entertainment right now, it's like, I marvel that people still choose a live band, It's like, and I tell my younger band friends, who are starting out, I say, just keep that in mind, man. How good has it got to be?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to be some good now. Like, and just to keep buy yourself a chance at all, it's got to be awesome.
Yeah.
And I don't know how else to do it. I never got in music as a recital or something. So people could see how much practice I did at my guitar or something. Or watch me. Everyone be quiet while I hit this high note. Who cares about that? When I was growing up, learning music in my kitchen from my uncles and my mother and father, the best singer wasn't the guy that sang the highest. It was the guy who got everyone else to sing with him the most.
Yeah.
And the best accordion player was the guy who filled the dance floor the most. End of question. And I think the other part of it, where that comes from too, is that music for me was always to facilitate some kind of celebration or ceremony or something. We didn't play music, like you say, for practice or for recitals or because it was good for us, or we had lessons or anything like that. We played it because there was a party, or a dance, or a concert, or a funeral, or a wedding, or a mass, it was always for something, and so for that reason, I was just, it's never been anything else than celebration for me.
Right.
So,
have you been at Mariposa before?
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
A long time ago. Great Big Sea played Mariposa Folk Festival. I'm going to say it was the summer of 1994. It was down on Toronto Island.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I think if I got it correct, Melanie Doan played, and Ashley McIsaac played. It was in the very early 1990s, and I think that's the last time I played it.
So how do you like it now? How do you like it
Well,
today?
you know what? I literally just came on this site for the first time.
Oh, okay.
And I've been in this part of the world lots of times, God knows, here, and like in a rink and up Casino Rama is close to here,
yeah.
I believe, right?
Yes.
And we've done that a couple times, but this is so beautiful up here. Any chance to get up here in the summertime is incredible. And this site, like I say, I just walked onto it, but it looks like idyllic. I mean,
It is. Oh, it is.
It's fantastic. There's a lake over there somewhere or something.
Yeah, well, it's kind of all around us. We're on kind of like a little peninsula, so it's kind of around three sides.
How good is that?
Okay, well, are you doing any workshops here?
Yes, I got to go very shortly and go do a songwriter's circle. I better practice a few.
Okay, well, I won't keep you any longer because you've got, got an appointment over there. Thank you so much.
Thanks for today. Thank you for having me. Thanks, everybody.